Imagine being born into danger, wanted dead before you could even cry, placed into a river, not knowing if the water would save you or destroy you, abandoned by the world, yet chosen by God to change history forever. This is the story of Moses. A long time ago, in the land of Egypt, the children of Israel were living as strangers in a foreign land. What began as a place of refuge slowly turned into a place of suffering. The Egyptians feared them because they were growing in number and strength, and fear turned into cruelty. The Israelites were forced into hard labor, beaten down by long days and sleepless nights, building cities they would never own, serving masters who showed no mercy. The cries of the people rose day and night, but Pharaoh's heart was hardened. He feared that the Israelites would become too powerful, so he made a terrible decree. Every Hebrew baby boy that was born was to be killed and thrown into the river Nile. Mothers wept in silence. Fathers lived in fear. Life itself became a danger. In the middle of this darkness, a child was born. A Hebrew woman gave birth to a baby boy, and the moment she saw his face, she knew he was special. There was something about him, a quiet strength, a gentle peace. She hid him for 3 months, keeping him silent when soldiers passed, holding her breath every time he cried. But hiding forever was impossible. When she could no longer keep him hidden, she made a painful decision. Not because she stopped loving him, but because love sometimes means letting go. She took a basket made of papyrus, coated it with tar so it would not sink, wrapped her baby tightly, kissed his forehead, and placed him gently into the river. The same river meant to kill him was about to carry him toward destiny? She watched from a distance as the basket floated among the reeds. Every second felt like a lifetime. Crocodiles lived in that river. The current was strong. But unseen hands were guiding that basket. Down the river, Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe. She noticed the basket, heard the faint cry of a baby, and her heart was moved with compassion. She knew immediately that this was a Hebrew child, one condemned by her father's law, yet she chose mercy over obedience. The baby was lifted from the water and given a name, Moses, meaning drawn out of the water. In a cruel twist of fate, the child meant to die by Pharaoh's command was now being raised in Pharaoh's own palace. Moses grew up surrounded by wealth, education, and power. He wore royal garments, ate royal food, and was taught the ways of Egypt. But deep inside him was a question he could not silence. He knew he did not belong. Though he lived as a prince, his blood told a different story. As Moses grew older, he saw the suffering of his people. He saw the whips. He heard the cries. One day, when he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, something inside him broke. Rage, justice, and identity collided. He acted in anger and killed the Egyptian. That single moment changed everything. When Pharaoh heard what Moses had done, he sought to kill him. The prince became a fugitive. The palace became forbidden. Moses fled into the wilderness, leaving behind power, comfort, and identity. From palace to pasture, from prince to shepherd, in the land of Midian, Moses began a new life. He married, raised a family, and tended sheep. Day after day, year after year, the fire inside him faded. He believed his chance to matter was gone. He thought his story had ended in failure, but God had not forgotten him. One ordinary day, while tending sheep near Mount Horeb, Moses saw something strange. A bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. Curious, he drew closer. And then he heard a voice calling his name, Moses. Moses. The ground beneath him became holy. God spoke to him, revealing himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God had heard the cries of his people, and he had chosen Moses to lead them out of Egypt. Moses was afraid. He doubted himself. He spoke of his weaknesses, his speech, his past. But God did not choose Moses because he was perfect. He chose him because he had prepared him. The shepherd returned to Egypt. Moses stood before Pharaoh, not as a prince, but as a servant of God. He demanded freedom for the Israelites. Pharaoh refused. What followed were signs and wonders, plagues that shook the land, revealing that Egypt's gods were powerless before the true God. Still, Pharaoh's heart remained stubborn. Until the final night came, death passed through Egypt, but the homes marked by faith were spared. The Israelites were released at last, leaving Egypt behind after centuries of bondage, but freedom did not come easily. Pharaoh changed his mind and pursued them. Trapped between the Red Sea and an advancing army, the people panicked. Fear filled the air, but God made a way where there was none. The sea parted, and the people walked through on dry ground. Their enemies were swallowed behind them. The abandoned child had become a deliverer. In the wilderness, Moses led the people through hunger, thirst, rebellion, and fear. God provided food from heaven, water from rock, and guidance through fire and cloud. On Mount Sinai, Moses received the law, words meant to shape a nation. Though Moses never entered the promised land, his legacy was complete. He had obeyed God. He had changed history. The baby placed in a basket had fulfilled his destiny, abandoned at birth, raised by destiny, chosen by God, and his story reminds us that no beginning is too broken for God to use.